For far too long, auto insurance companies have operated with little to no oversight, giving them free rein to raise rates and leaving consumers without any real recourse. In 1 year alone, Illinois drivers were hit with an average 18% increase in auto insurance premiums. Again, in a single year, even for those with spotless driving records, one of the steepest increases in America.
That's Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Janoulias this week, standing alongside Governor J.B. Pritzker, who signed insurance regulations. But Janoulias is making headlines not just for wanting to regulate auto and home insurance companies. He's also making headlines for running for two offices at the same time. The one he currently holds as the Secretary of State, and then also Chicago mayor. Welcome back to the States. I'm Greg Bishop. Now, 2 days after Secretary of State Alexi Janoulias announced a bid for Chicago mayor, he joined the governor at that signing ceremony for two insurance-related bills after he said his support wasn't political. Now, the bills also, they allow the Illinois Department of Insurance to regulate and review insurance companies over proposed policy rate hikes for homeowner and auto insurance. Now, Pritzker, he said the bills are not out of the ordinary and are necessary to provide fairness and accountability for Illinois residents.
With my signature today, Illinois will begin requiring insurers to transparently justify proposed rate increases, and we are empowering regulators to fight unfair and arbitrary hikes. This new law prohibits companies from charging premiums that are deemed excessive or with terms that are inadequate or unfairly discriminatory. It protects Illinois residents from being burdened with costs from losses that occurred somewhere else in the country, not in Illinois. Most importantly, Illinois regulators now have the tools to enforce those common sense principles, with the power to object to rate increases so consumers won't be left holding the bag. This isn't some radical proposal. It is authority that regulators in every other state in the country have exercised for years.
Now, while officials argue that the law will provide affordability, industry groups with the insurance industry, they have said that the laws will have an inverse effect. The Illinois Insurance Association, the American Property Casualty Insurance Association, and the National Association of Mutual Insurance Companies released a joint statement after Tuesday's signing. They said this shift will make it harder for insurers to respond in real time to market conditions and adjust rates up or down based on actual claims experience. Now, the governor, he pushed back and contended that that is just not the case.
There aren't any additional costs, to be frank. Nobody's getting closed down. Nobody's saying that they can't raise rates if there is a need. They're already producing the information that's required if they truly need to raise rates because they can't cover those costs with the premiums that they charge. Then, I guess what I'm saying is it's silly to suggest that this is going to raise rates.
Now, Janoulias, he said the cost of auto insurance rates being raised without oversight while insurance is mandatory for drivers is unfair. And he said 48 other states regulate insurers this way.
Today, Illinois joins 48 other states by giving regulators meaningful authority to review rate filings, challenge excessive or unjustified increases, and require rebates when customers are overcharged. Illinois drivers finally have a watchdog with real teeth, not one forced to simply accept whatever insurance companies submit.
Now, both of these insurance laws, they take effect July 1st. And while Janoulias heralded the new laws, he continues mounting his campaign for another job. Janoulias launched his campaign ads over the weekend for the job of Chicago mayor, which that election's coming up February 23rd in a pretty large field of candidates tossing their hats into the ring. Now, that February 23rd election would come after the November 3rd election, where Janoulias is vying for another job as the Illinois Secretary of State to get another term in that 4-year term office. Now, Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza, she announced her plans to run for Chicago mayor back in June, But that was months after she said she would not seek re-election to the statewide office of comptroller. Now, Mendoza said it's not super ethical for Janoulias to ask almost 13 million people to support him for Secretary of State while he's seeking another job. She told the Center Square that she's all in for Chicago. Alexi, quote, is clearly all in for Alexi, and that's why he's hedging his bets and he's running for both offices. She said Chicago deserves a mayor who's all in. Now, Mendoza, a Democrat, said although Janoulias asked to be judged on his record as Secretary of State, he should also be judged on his time as state treasurer. She said that he was responsible for overseeing the Bright Start College Savings Plan, where the office lost $100 million in college kids' funds. Mendoza also went on to recall Janoulias' time at Broadway Bank, which was seized by federal authorities in 2010 after allegations that the bank was linked to organized crime figures. Republican Secretary of State candidate Diane Harris said Janoulias is hollowing out his political government staff to populate his campaign office. She said it becomes election engineering, and that's what it becomes because you're campaigning on the particular company time. And in this case, the company time is government time. She went on to tell the Center Square that Janoulias should withdraw from the statewide election in November if he's planning to run for mayor next year. She said, quote, if he is elected there, he would only serve a few months as Secretary of State. And I'm sure that would not be what the voters would be voting him for. If Janoulias is elected mayor, the Illinois governor would be the one tasked with appointing his successor as Secretary of State. And at this week's bill signing with Janoulias behind him, Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about the growing number of people jumping into the race for Chicago mayor.
People want to see a Chicago that really works for everybody. And so I think there are people who feel strongly, like I do, about public service and put themselves forward. Look, I can tell you this, I am going to work with whoever it is. I'm going to work with whoever it is that becomes the next mayor. As you know, I've had 3 mayors so far as governor. Then I've worked with all 3 of them in various ways. So I'm going to make sure that I have the opportunity to work with whoever it is that becomes the next mayor.
This coming from the Illinois governor, who many have suspected is vying for the White House in 2028, which would come 2 years into the next term for Governor J.B. Pritzker if he was to be elected in November. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. And also the race for Chicago mayor, where incumbent Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is expected to also run alongside a slew of other candidates. Stay up to date with that and other stories at thecentersquare.com.